Greetings everyone, welcome to another segment of Recovery TV. I'm Josh and I'm here to talk to you about some really important things regarding marriage and relationships. And so there are actually some common teachings that are simply unhelpful and create counterproductivity in marriages that I'm going to address today. And so today we're going to talk about 5 myths of marriage. 5 myths or 5 teachings that simply aren't helpful or not true for relational functioning. And so before I begin with that, I'd like for you guys to make sure you click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and click that little bell so you can receive more informative videos like this as we post them. So let's begin. So we're going to talk about the 5 myths of marriage, 5 teachings in our culture that simply aren't helpful for us in our relationships, in our couple relationships. So the first one is marriage is about compromise. So this is a very common teaching in our culture, but let me ask you this. How many times have you heard the word compromise used with a positive connotation on it outside of it being used in a marriage, in the context of marriage? For example, if you're in the military and you're in a war zone and your position has been compromised, that's usually not good. Or let's just say you're a financial advisor or that you're working in banking and someone talks about that you made some compromises. It's usually not a good thing. But for some reason in marriage, we talk about compromise like it's a really good thing. It's something we should all do, but it's simply not, because compromise in a marital relationship or couple relationship ultimately leads to resentment. So it comes back in the form of, remember when I did this for you? Or remember when I sacrificed this and I gave this up for you? Can you not do this thing for me? Can you hear the resentment in there? And so compromise is simply just an easier way to handle difficult circumstances or challenging situations. And so couples, instead of compromise, they need to figure out how they can both get what they want. And that's a little more challenging to do. Now, there might be some adjustments that need to be made, but ultimately with a little work and a little effort and maybe a little headache, a couple can figure out how they can both get what they want without making compromises. And so when they make those decisions, they usually are thinking that I am going to decide on something, or we're going to try to decide on something that benefits the both of us, and instead of making a decision that benefits one at the expense of the other. But how can this benefit myself and the relationship? And so sometimes it takes a little work to get there, but ultimately, in most situations, I truly believe that all couples can find a way they can both win, so to speak, and not have to compromise. So again, remember, marriages aren't built on compromise. Compromise, not a good thing for relationships. Myth number 2, marriage is about making each other happy. We hear this all the time. Find someone that'll make you happy. It sounds great. It sounds romantic. It sounds very Jerry Maguire, right? Find someone that will complete you. But it's simply not helpful to operate in a relationship with that mentality. We're not equipped to make other people happy. It's hard enough figuring out our own happiness. We definitely have a hard time doing that for someone else. So with that thought, find someone that'll make you happy, comes a lot of pressure for whoever that someone is. I don't want the responsibility of making you happy. You figure out your happiness, I'll figure out my happiness, and now we have two people that know how to do happiness coming together, and they have a better chance of figuring out how to create a happy relationship. It doesn't mean we can't help with someone else's happiness, or that we don't have the ability to create some misery or some heartache in their life. But ultimately, my happiness is my responsibility. I would much rather my spouse say, I am happier being with you, than telling me that I make her happy. So marriage is not about making each other happy. Myth number 3. You're going to love this one, because the myth is marriage is about unconditional love. We all want to be loved. We all love the idea of unconditional love and being wanted and accepted with no judgments and no criticisms, just as I am. It's a very wonderful concept. But it's simply not true in couple relationships. The couple relationship, the marital relationship, is a very conditional relationship. The only place or relationship that unconditional love exists, in my opinion, is in the parent-child relationship. And that is from the parent to the child, not the other way around. As a parent, I can love my child unconditionally. They could make all kinds of mistakes and become the worst of society, and I still love them because they're my offspring. I might not approve of their decisions or the life that they've chosen to live, but they're still my offspring. They're my flesh and blood, and I love them unconditionally. A child, for example, they have one condition, and that's for the parent to love them unconditionally. And so the only relationship, in my opinion, where that exists is from the parent-child relationship, from the parent to the child. Now, I think as people, we can unconditionally love humanity and want good for everybody and not wish bad things upon people. But we're talking about the context of the marital relationship. Love is conditional. If I feel like I'm giving more to you than I am receiving from you, we're probably going to have problems. And you know what? The quicker we understand that and the quicker we accept that in our couple relationship, the less likely we are to get complacent. And the more likely we are to be intentional with our love and affection, and therefore creating a healthy relationship. So love is conditional in relationships. The fourth one we can thank the Beatles for, because the Beatles came out with a song that says, "All you need is love." And again, it sounds wonderful, it sounds great, but it's just simply not true. Relationships require a lot more than just love. Relationships require effort, and relationships require commitment, and relationships require other types of work. In a nutshell, relationships require you to move forward in life. We can love someone to the nth degree, but if they're stuck in life, it's hard to want to be with them or hard to want to be married to them. So whatever forward movement looks like is going to come in various forms of different types of work and effort. And love is part of that. It's just not all you need. So lastly, the fifth and final myth is that marriage is forever. So I've been accused of being a downer on this one, but I'm really not. I do like the idea of marriage being forever. And for those of you watching this, I hope that you're blessed with being married one time to that one person, and that marriage lasts the duration of your life. But even for those people who are with one person the entire life, someone usually is still going to say goodbye to that person first. They're going to experience loss in some way, shape, or form. And it's sad, and it sounds like I am being a downer, but it's because of that potential loss that makes the reality of our relationship so important and meaningful and intimate. When we accept that and understand that there is potential loss and that this relationship doesn't last forever, we're more likely to be on top of our game and cherish those moments that are meaningful and important that other times we might just let slide or miss the opportunity for intimacy in those relationships. So I think remembering that our relationships and our marriages aren't forever helps us to put in the necessary work and be intentional with our relationships to make them meaningful and important while we have them. So those are the 5 myths of marriage. I hope that you go to the description section of this video, and there's an article on each one of these myths that I hope you click on and you read it. And then I hope you join us again for another segment of Recovery TV soon. Thank you for joining us.